Where do I even start with this? The Mario movie was phenomenal. It's hard to put into words how much I like this movie, but that's exactly what I'm about to do. If you want to recap on everything both about this movie and leading up to this movie, you're in the right place. I'm going to cover as many aspects as possible in this video. Not only just about the movie, but about the hype leading up to it as well. If you haven't seen the movie yet and don't want any spoilers, it's best you click off this video right now. There should be timestamps right now to specific parts in the video if you're here for a specific aspect of the movie. This may be a long video, so if you don't want to sit through the whole thing, why not skip ahead? I'm probably going to be spoiling basically every single part of this movie, so this is your last warning. Anyways, without further ado, let's go. Everyone remembers the cast reveal. In a Nintendo Direct that aired on September 23rd, 2021, wow, has it really been that long? Nintendo revealed the superstar cast for this movie. At this point, we knew extremely little about the movie itself. All we knew prior to this was that Nintendo had partnered with Illumination to make the movie. Before we get into the cast reveal, I just want to say that I was relieved when they went with Illumination to make the movie. Sure, not all of Illumination's movies are fantastic, but they could have gone with a company much, much worse. And in the end, it worked out for them. Illumination did a fantastic job on this movie. Anyways, back to the cast reveal. We were all very excited to see who would be playing our favorite plumber in blue overalls. Many fans were hoping to see Mario's iconic voice actor Charles Martinet play Mario in the movie. But Nintendo had a different plan. Nintendo revealed that Chris Pratt would be playing Mario in the movie. This was memed to death. Majority of people's reaction to this is just them bursting out laughing. I guarantee you if you look at a random reaction for this Nintendo Direct, chances are the person reacting is just gonna die of laughter. Can you blame them? Chris Pratt was a very odd choice to many people, including myself. Sure, his voice can be fairly high-pitched at times, but no one out there would choose him to play Mario. I was very skeptical about how Chris Pratt would perform as Mario from the get-go. What's my final verdict on his performance? We'll get into that later. The next cast member to be revealed was Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach. This one actually makes a lot of sense. Anya Taylor-Joy's regular voice works perfectly fine for Peach. I wasn't worried about this one at all. The next cast member to be revealed was Charlie Day as Luigi. Once again, I wasn't too worried about this one. Charlie Day's regular voice fits Luigi pretty well, so I knew this was a safe bet. I wasn't expecting an over-the-top performance from Charlie Day, but what we got was completely acceptable. Could have been much worse. The next cast member to be revealed was Jack Black as Bowser. I was surprised with this not getting memed a lot. To me, this made less sense than Chris Pratt playing Mario. Look, Jack Black is one of my all-time favorite actors, but I wouldn't choose him to play the King of the Koopas. I was more skeptical about this one than I was about Chris Pratt. What's my final verdict on Jack Black's performance? Again, we'll get into that later. But for now, let's just say I shouldn't doubt my boy Jack Black ever again. The next cast member to be revealed was Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. Again, extremely skeptical about this one. Keegan-Michael Key's voice isn't high-pitched at all. I was shocked at this choice for Toad of all characters. The next cast member to be revealed was Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. This was another safe bet. I could see Seth Rogen's normal voice working pretty well with Donkey Kong. After all the major cast members were revealed, they said that Charles Martinet would be having cameos in the movie. Notice how they said cameos as in more than one. This led to a lot of speculation as to what his cameos would be in the movie. We later found out that he would be playing Giuseppe, who's based off of Jumpman, and Mario's father, which was pretty cool. The last three cast members revealed were Kevin Michael Richardson as Kamek, Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong, and Sebastian Maniscalco as Spike. Kevin Michael Richardson is an actor I'm unfamiliar with, so I didn't have anything to say about him playing Kamek. I have heard of Fred Armisen, but I haven't seen anything he's in, so once again, I didn't have an opinion about him playing Cranky Kong. However, I was very curious to know what kind of role Cranky Kong would play in the movie, especially considering they didn't reveal Diddy Kong or Dixie Kong. Although, I have heard of Sebastian Maniscalco before. For those of you who don't know, he's a comedian. You can watch a lot of his specials on Netflix. Sebastian Maniscalco is actually one of my favorite comedians, so I was happy to see he'd be in the movie. But I was a little disappointed to see him appear like twice in the entire movie. Many fans were very intrigued by the reveal of Spike. Spike originates in the unpopular Mario game, Wrecking Crew. This game isn't very well known by fans today. It stars Mario, but not as a plumber or a hero, but as a demolition worker. Spike just so happens to be the foreman in this game who tries to get in your way a lot of the time. Simply revealing this character for the movie led many fans to predict Mario and Luigi wouldn't start in the Mushroom Kingdom, but rather in a city as demolition workers who become plumbers and then find their way to the Mushroom Kingdom. Anyways, to sum up this cast reveal, there were a lot of choices I agreed with, and a lot I didn't. Picks like Anya Taylor-Joy, Charlie Day, and Seth Rogen were ones I knew were going to do bare minimum an exceptional job as their characters. Picks like Chris Pratt, Jack Black, and Keegan-Michael Key were ones I was hoping to be pleasantly surprised by despite them being interesting choices. Over the course of the lead up to the Mario movie, we got 3 main trailers as well as several TV spots. On October 6th, we got our very first Mario movie direct focused on giving us the first trailer for the Mario movie. This was very exciting. Many fans were dying to know what the movie was gonna look like. Before giving us the trailer, we got to hear from a few of the people involved in making this movie, starting with Shigeru Miyamoto himself. Is it just me, or does this guy always seem like the nicest guy? He's always super happy to be talking to us. He's awesome. We also got to hear from the CEO of Illumination, Chris Meledandri. Chris Meledandri talked about how Illumination and their team of animators loved working on this movie. This was very reassuring to know that the movie was being made by Mario fanatics, as Chris Meledandri put it. Then, we heard from Super Mario himself, Chris Pratt.
Growing up, man, I spent hours of my life stomping Koopas in the original Mario Brothers arcade game at my local laundromat.
I thought this guy was a professional actor! This guy is clearly reading off a script. You can tell by how he keeps looking off to the right. Not only that, but he doesn't even seem to believe the words coming out of his own mouth. Look, I could sit here and attack Chris Pratt all day, but instead I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that I don't blame him for this. Nintendo obviously wants him to grossly exaggerate how big of a Mario fan he is to make him seem like a good fit for playing Mario. Part of me wouldn't be surprised if this was Nintendo talking through Chris Pratt. It's just unfortunate how fake this segment feels. Thankfully, Jack Black comes in right after and saves the day. Jack Black comes in with a ton of energy and really hypes up everyone for the movie. And then, roll the trailer. Our first shot is this empty plain of ice. Suddenly, lava falls from the sky. Not long after, we see the King of the Koopas flying in with his castle. We get this epic shot of the castle landing as all the Koopas get ready to attack. We get this epic shot of Bowser for the first time. He's walking to the front of his army. Everyone's dying to hear what his voice sounds like. And finally, perfection! At this moment, Jack Black has officially won over all the fans. His take on Bowser couldn't be better. And then we see why the Koopa army is here. To attack. The penguins from Mario 64? Now that's a cool reference. We get this cute shot of the penguins throwing snowballs at Bowser and his army. Snowballs. Kamek then uses his magic to lift the penguins into the air, and Bowser blows everything to smithereens with his fire breath. We see Bowser holding the star as he yells, "Enter our main character." Mario flies through pipe and into the Mushroom Kingdom. He looks around, amazed. And then, he encounters his very first Toad, and they start their adventure together. Now everyone's really dying to know what Mario's voice is going to sound like. Is it going to be good? Is Chris Pratt going to surprise us? Mario, just say something! That was cringe. It's safe to say many fans were not happy with Chris Pratt's take on Mario. The trailer ends with a quick shot of Luigi running from some dry bones. The first trailer really didn't show off much of the movie, but it was more than enough to get people excited. The takeaways from this trailer were Jack Black is amazing, Chris Pratt is terrible. Overall, movie's looking good. It's also worth mentioning that Keegan-Michael Key managed to find the perfect voice for Toad in this movie. Annoying enough to sound like Toad, but not so annoying that he's unbearable. Then, on November 29th, we abruptly got the second trailer. I remember just checking Nintendo's YouTube channel the night before to see the second trailer would be premiering tomorrow. Once again, we got to hear from Shigeru Miyamoto and Chris Meledandri. But we also got to hear from Anya Taylor-Joy and Seth Rogen. These interviews were quicker and more laid back than Chris Pratt's and Jack Black's interviews, but it does make sense that they did it this way. Anya Taylor-Joy and Seth Rogen's interviews weren't as hyped up and exciting as Jack Black's, but thankfully weren't as awkward and uncomfortable as Chris Pratt's. And then, the second trailer started. I won't walk you through this one as much because there's a lot more to cover, but I will share my thoughts on the major stuff. The highlight of this trailer is getting to see Peach, and she's kind of a badass. Most people were expecting Peach to be the damsel in distress as usual, but Nintendo surprised us and made her cool. It turns out Luigi is actually the one getting kidnapped by Bowser, which is an interesting turn of events. On top of all that, we got to see Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong for the first time, even though they don't talk in this trailer. This trailer was definitely the most hype out of all three. Finally, on March 9th, we got the last trailer for this movie. In some regions, this trailer aired on March 10th, otherwise known as Mario Day. Before the trailer, as always, we heard from Shigeru Miyamoto and Chris Meledandri again. However, we also got a funny clip with Chris Pratt, Charlie Day, Keegan-Michael Key, and Seth Rogen arguing over which of their characters should be the star on Mario Day. We also got to see Anya Taylor-Joy and Jack Black make an appearance as well. These clips were charming to see. But now, time for the trailer. This trailer was a little underwhelming for me. I was expecting it to match the hype of the second trailer, but instead it kind of had a similar feel to the first trailer where it didn't really show off much. We got introduced to Lumily, a character who's depressed? Something's not right with this guy. We also got to see Fire DK, which was unexpected, but many fans were excited to see this cool addition to the movie. Finally, we got to see this action-packed scene of Mario and friends on Rainbow Road. I actually really enjoyed this scene because you can tell it's one of the first times in the movie where Mario shows everyone who's boss, and it warms my heart seeing my childhood icon become the hero we all know him as today. In addition to the trailers, we got several TV spots showing off tons of footage for this movie. I won't get into these because there are so many of them that we'd be here all day. They also managed to promote this movie by showing off cool clips like Mario entering the Mushroom Kingdom for the first time, Peach clearing her obstacle course, and my personal favorite, the Mario Brothers rap. It's also worth mentioning that with the Mario Brothers rap plumbing ad came a real-life website and a number you could call. If you try calling this number, you'll get a charming voicemail from Charlie Day in character as Luigi, which is an extremely fun way to promote this movie. The hype leading up to this movie was unreal. But now, it's time to talk about the actual movie itself. If you've already watched the movie, maybe you should skip this part because this is just a recap. I'll try and do this as quickly as possible because many of you already know what happens. The movie starts with that scene from the first trailer where Bowser invades the Ice Kingdom. The scene cuts to black right before showing the Mario Brothers plumbing ad again. The camera zooms out to show Mario and Luigi in Punch-Out Pizzeria watching the commercial air. Shortly after, we're introduced to Spike, who has managed to avoid being put in any of the trailers for this movie. He tells Mario and Luigi that they're always going to be nobodies, and leaves. Mario and Luigi get their first call right after this and go to fix a leaky faucet. This does not go well for them, and they make the problem a million times worse. This is all because of the client's dog. Mario is understandably disappointed, but gets an idea for how to redeem themselves. Brooklyn has a huge flood, and Mario gets the idea to, in his words, save Brooklyn. Mario and Luigi go underground into the sewers to fix the problem, but something goes wrong and they end up trapped in the sewers. They both find this pipe which sucks them into this crazy world with pipes everywhere, each one leading to a different world. Mario and Luigi get split up. Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom, Luigi ends up in the Darklands. In the Mushroom Kingdom, Mario meets Toad and tells Toad about the trouble Luigi's in. Toad takes Mario to see the princess to help him out. Luigi finds himself in a dark forest where he encounters several dry bones. He manages to escape to an abandoned castle where he almost immediately gets captured by Shy Guys. Mario meets the princess, aka Peach, and asks for her to help save Luigi. Peach wants to test Mario's skills, which leads to a montage of Mario failing at her obstacle course. She decides to take him with her anyways because of how much he improved. As they set off on their adventure to get the Kong army to help defend against Bowser, Toad invites himself along for the ride. They journey across the Mushroom Kingdom and wind up in the Jungle Kingdom. Here they meet Cranky Kong, the leader of the Kong race. He refuses to give them their army unless Mario can beat his son in a fight to the death. I think we all know where this is going. Mario finds himself in an arena with him, DK, and a couple power-ups. Mario gets demolished by DK, that is until he finds a cat bell in one of the item boxes, which turns him into Cat Mario from 3D World. The tables turn and Mario demolishes DK instead. Cranky Kong agrees to have the Kong army help the Mushroom Kingdom. They decide to ambush Bowser at the secret passage by driving on Rainbow Road. Meanwhile, Luigi gets kidnapped by Bowser. Bowser begins working on his evil plan to take over the world with Peach at his side, as his wife. This leads to the highlight of the movie, Peaches, which better win multiple Grammys. Luigi is put in a cage where he meets Lumily, a Luma who, as I said before, doesn't seem as cheery as the typical Luma. Bowser finds out Mario and friends plan to ambush him at the secret passage, so he decides 2 can play at that game. He sends a ton of Koopas and carts to take out Mario. This leads to a big fight scene between the Kongs and the Koopas on Rainbow Road. At the end, the Kongs believe to have won, but the Koopa General goes blue shell mode and destroys Mario and DK, who fall off Rainbow Road and are believed to be dead. Peach and Toad manage to escape, but the Kongs are kidnapped by Bowser. Also, can we just talk about the fact that this blue shell basically killed himself? He went full-on kamikaze here. I get that it's accurate to the games, but holy crap! This guy is just as ruthless as the blue shell in the actual Mario Kart games. And I love that! Mario and DK get eaten by Unagi after falling into the ocean. If you're not familiar with him, he's the eel everyone's scared of from Mario 64. Peach agrees to marry Bowser, and in return, he'll spare her toads. Mario and DK use one of the barrels that flies from Donkey Kong Country to get out of Unagi's mouth and back to the Mushroom Kingdom. They arrive to find Bowser's minions have taken over, so they take advantage of the power-ups to go crash Bowser's wedding. Don't get me wrong, I think the wedding is a very nice throwback to Odyssey, but isn't it a little weird that this means at 2 separate times in the Mario timeline, Bowser has attempted to force Peach to marry him? And wouldn't he have learned from his mistakes when he tries to do the same in Odyssey? Maybe that's why he had the wedding on the moon. Anyways, Peach uses the ice flower to stop the wedding. This works for a bit, but then King Bob-omb blows up, which, off topic for a second, why does he have to look so sad before blowing up? Anyways, Peach loses the power-up, but thankfully Mario and DK come to save the day. DK stops the cages from going into the lava, which, by the way, what was the point of Bowser sacrificing all of them in Peach's honor? Seems a little weird, but okay. Mario grabs Luigi using the Tanuki leaf before Luigi falls into the lava. All our heroes meet up and Bowser has had it. He launches a bonsai bill to obliterate the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario, still using the Tanuki leaf, flies after the bonsai bill and gets it to chase him by hitting it in the eye. Mario leads it to the pipe he came out from and the bonsai bill gets sucked in. For whatever reason, it blows up and everyone in the Mushroom Kingdom gets sucked back into the pipe, which causes them all end up in Brooklyn. Bowser beats the crap out of Mario, and Mario lays on the ground in Punch-Out Pizzeria. Mario's new best friends distract Bowser so that Mario can catch a glimpse of the plumbing ad on the very broken TV. The phrase, "Save Brooklyn," is repeated several times. Mario gets up, says his most iconic phrase, and is ready to take on Bowser. The Power Star is launched behind Mario. Mario and Bowser race to get it first. Bowser breathes fire at Mario, but just in the nick of time, Luigi blocks it with a manhole cover. The Mario brothers bolt for the star and grab it right before they're blown to smithereens. The fire clears away, and the brothers are glowing just like they do in the games when they grab the star. The iconic Superstar music plays as Mario and Luigi demolish Bowser's army before showing Bowser who's boss in one final epic showdown. The plumbers save Brooklyn and the Mushroom Kingdom once and for all. After all this, Mario and Luigi relocate their plumbing business to the Mushroom Kingdom and go on many more adventures from here on out. Bowser continues his beloved Peach's song, and a Yoshi egg is teased in a post-credit scene. The end. Here's a fun idea. What if we did a ranking video inside a review video? I'm gonna rank all the characters from worst to best as a way of sharing my thoughts on each of them. I'm only going to be counting the main characters, which in my opinion consists of Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Donkey Kong, Cranky Kong, Bowser, and Kamek. I would have counted Lumily, but he doesn't appear often enough to be considered a main character and isn't really as significant as the previously mentioned characters. Anyways, let's get into this. Number 8, Cranky Kong. Cranky Kong's role in the movie was a pleasant surprise for me. When he was revealed to be one of the characters in this movie, I was expecting him to be similar to how he is in the games. By this, I mean, well, how he is in the games. An elderly ape who can still go on adventures. I didn't know how that would fit into the movie though. Thankfully, Nintendo did something interesting and turned him into the leader of the Kong race. This made the inclusion of Cranky Kong make far more sense and made the story a lot more interesting. Fred Armisen also did a great job of playing Cranky Kong. The voice fits the character extremely well. The only reason Cranky Kong is at the bottom of the list is because, compared to some of the other characters, he isn't as enjoyable. However, this does make sense considering Cranky Kong's purpose was to help out the Mushroom Kingdom just to be captured by Bowser, which is important for Donkey Kong's small character arc in the movie. Number 7, Mario. Mario as a character is never my favorite in any of the games, so it's only fitting that his character in the movie is a bit more bland in comparison to his friends. Mario's personality in the movie isn't as cheerful as it is in the games, but this makes perfect sense. Mario has a lot of problems back in Brooklyn. He and Luigi are trying to start a plumbing business which doesn't go well for them. On top of that, his dad thinks he's a joke. His family doesn't think he can make it as an entrepreneur, and he's taking Luigi down with him. Mario is understandably unhappy with his life and isn't the happy-go-lucky guy we all know him to be. However, I find this makes a lot of sense and makes the character far more interesting throughout the movie. Instead of being excited about everything, he's reluctant to tackle certain obstacles in his path, but this just makes you root for him. This movie is all about Mario's origin story and how he became the happy-go-lucky guy we all know him to be. Mario's character arc is the main part of this movie, and it's genius how they managed to pull it off. Now, I know what you're all waiting for. Is Chris Pratt's performance good? So far, throughout this video, I've been attacking Chris Pratt's portrayal of Mario. But at the end of the day, I think his voice for Mario is what the producers wanted. In the plumbing commercial, we hear Chris Pratt do a half-decent Mario voice. While it's not perfect, if he wanted to do that the whole movie, I wouldn't have a problem with it. This means that the Brooklyn accent he's been doing the whole time isn't because he can't do a Mario voice. It's because the producers want a Brooklyn accent. So, I still don't like Chris Pratt's Mario voice, but I can't say he's the one to blame for it. Chris Pratt, if you're for whatever reason watching this, which I seriously doubt you are, I take back everything I said about your portrayal of Mario. Number 6, Peach. Peach has been one of the popularly talked about characters from this movie. I was really shocked when they made her a badass instead of the damsel in distress, but it was the perfect move. Mario needed someone to guide him through the Mushroom Kingdom, and who better than the princess herself? Without Peach, Mario's adventure would have been a lot harder. And let's face it, Peach being the damsel in distress would be really boring. Having her in the role she was in was far more interesting because it's something we really haven't seen before. The only reason I have her ranked poorly on the list is just because I enjoy the goofier characters, and Peach doesn't really have much of a goofy side compared to the rest of the characters in this movie. It's also worth mentioning that Anya Taylor-Joy's normal voice happened to work very well for the iconic princess. Number 5. Kamek. Even though Kamek didn't get much screen time, I found him to be a hilarious assistant for Bowser in this movie. I find it funny how Kamek is just as scared as Bowser as the rest of his minions are. Kamek is a suck-up, which makes the character even funnier. The scene where Bowser is practicing proposing to Peach and Kamek is dressed up like her is hilarious, while also being a fun throwback to New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Also, I love Kamek's voice in this movie. Instead of trying to make it sound the way it does in the games, which would have been kind of annoying, Kevin Michael Richardson makes it sound original, and the way he pulled it off was fantastic. My only complaint about Kamek is the lack of screen time. Number 4. Luigi. Luigi's personality is almost identical to how it is in the games. He's the same timid plumber everyone knows and loves. Luigi is one of the most likable characters in this entire movie. It's a shame he didn't get more screen time. Charlie Day also does a great job of playing him too. He mostly uses his regular voice, which sounds enough like Luigi already, but also adds a hint of Brooklyn too, which is nice. There's really not much else to say about this guy. Number 3. Toad. Toad was kind of the comic relief in this movie. He invites himself along Mario and Peach's adventure. Mario and Peach take things very seriously, so it's nice having Toad there to balance out the seriousness with some humor. Keegan-Michael Key does a fantastic job with Toad's voice as well. As I mentioned before, it's annoying enough to sound like Toad, but not so annoying that he's unbearable. Toad's personality has the same principle too. Toad is by far one of the best characters in this entire movie. Number 2. Donkey Kong. From the very beginning, it was safe to say that Donkey Kong was also going to be some comic relief in this movie, especially with Seth Rogen playing him. I could see a lot of people disliking Donkey Kong's character in this movie, but I find it to be quite humorous. I like how he basically acts like a bully. He loves how everyone looks up to him and uses it as an excuse to be a dick. But the reason for this is his major daddy issues. His dad thinks he's a joke. Sound familiar? Which causes him to act out for attention. I enjoy how Donkey Kong of all characters has a character arc in this movie about him fixing his relationship with his dad. I do think Seth Rogen did a good job of playing DK in this movie. He was a pretty safe bet if you ask me. And number 1, Bowser. I knew right from the first trailer Bowser was going to be my favorite character in this movie. Bowser has a fairly similar personality to the one he has in the games. A ruthless villain with a softer, goofy side as well. Every scene with Bowser was Oscar-worthy. Each one has you laughing hysterically the whole time. But this doesn't mean Bowser can't be cruel when he needs to be. At the end of the day, he's still a very serious threat to Mario and the Mushroom Kingdom. But can we all agree that the Peaches song was the highlight of this movie? I can't stress enough how well Jack Black did with this scene. There's not a single thing I would change. It's absolutely flawless. And that can be applied to Jack Black's performance overall. I know that I said before that I was a little skeptical about Jack Black being casted at first, but that's just because I had a hard time picturing him getting his voice down to Bowser's level. But I could not have been more wrong. Jack Black's performance of Bowser was by far the best in this movie. Jack Black carried so hard. Jack Black is one of my all-time favorite actors, and I will never, ever doubt him again. He is the embodiment of talent, and I can't think of anyone more perfect to play the king of the Koopas. So that's all the characters ranked. Let's move on. The references in this movie are what make it so great. You could spend days analyzing every frame of this movie and still miss some of the references. If you're a die-hard Mario fan, you will be amazed by just how many references they included in this movie. It's insane. Some of my favorites include the DK rap, Bowser's wedding, King Bob-omb and King Boo making an appearance, Unagi, Pauline making an appearance as the mayor of Brooklyn. Wait, so she's the mayor of 2 different cities in 2 different worlds? The Bowser's Fury theme, and of course, the iconic phrase, "Your princess is in another castle." That just makes me think the Toads were messing with us this entire time. The amount of references here makes the movie a joy for Mario fans. However, a problem many people might have with the movie, if they aren't Mario fans, is that the references will go right over their head, taking away from one of the best parts of this movie. But I don't care, because this movie is made for Mario fans, not the average moviegoer, which is why I think a lot of the negative reviews for this movie are unfair. My opinion is, if you're not a Mario fan, you're not qualified to review this movie. A lot of the references for this movie also appear in the soundtrack. This movie has the best soundtrack of any movie ever. I'll fight anyone who says differently. Look, I'm not a big music guy. I don't really listen to it ever, but I'd have to be mentally insane to not enjoy Mario soundtracks. Mario games have some of the best soundtracks ever, and to hear so many of those songs get remade for the movie made the Mario fan inside of me jump up and down with joy. A lot of the songs were hidden, and you do have to pay attention to hear some of them, but others were right there in front of you, which is really cool. I also like the sequences like when Mario enters the Mushroom Kingdom for the first time, and the soundtrack is a mix of countless Mario songs. Some make sense, while others are rather obscure. But I love that. Some of the more notable themes in this movie are 1-1 from the first Mario game, the airship theme from Mario Bros. 3, Mario Kart 8's menu music, SNES Rainbow Road, and one of my favorite remixes from the whole movie, the Superstar theme. I like that theme so much because of how they turn a once blocky and forgettable theme into the most epic and triumphant theme in the whole movie. Of course, the best theme in the movie was the credits theme. I love how they go from one theme to the next and finish it all off with Gusty Garden Galaxy. On top of Mario themes, there were also a surprising amount of real-life songs that made it into the movie. A few examples are No Sleep Till Brooklyn, Holding Out for a Hero, and Take On Me. If there are any other examples, I forgot about them. Considering these 2 movies are arguably the most successful video game adaptations of all time, which is better? Well, these 2 movies are very different from each other. The Sonic movie came out back in 2020 and shattered everyone's idea that a video game can't make a good movie. The Sonic movie was an amazing movie, especially going by video game movie standards. The Mario movie is no different. So, just for fun, let's compare these 2 movies, shall we? The Mario movie is obviously, well, animated. At first, I wasn't too happy to hear this. On one hand, I was nervous going the animated route would make the movie too childish. On the other hand, I was concerned live action would go one of 2 ways: copying the Sonic movie, or recreating the horror from the first Mario movie. But I think animation was definitely the way to go. It did a way better job of telling Mario's story and allowed for countless references to be seamlessly worked into this masterpiece. However, this doesn't mean Sonic going the live action route was a mistake. The Sonic movie had something to prove, that video game movies can be made well. And going the live action route made sense because it appealed to a much wider audience. However, this came at the cost of losing the opportunity for a lot more references to the source material. Don't get me wrong, the Sonic movie did an amazing job of referencing the games in as many ways as possible, but it doesn't even compare to the amount of references the Mario movie had. So, which is better? That's a very tough call. The Sonic movie is a better movie by movie standards. It had a more interesting plot, sort of, and had a more mature style and sense of humor. Plus, it had the world's best actor, Jim Carrey. However, the Mario movie is a much better example of what video game movies should look like going forward. The Mario movie did the games justice and actually felt like you were watching a video game movie. So in that sense, the Mario movie does top the Sonic movie. But I don't really think one is better than the other because of how different they both are. This movie is almost definitely getting a sequel. It's the biggest box office opening for an animated movie ever. That's a huge accomplishment. And with Nintendo owning their own movie studio now, of course we can expect Mario to make many, many more appearances on the big screen. It's also very likely we'll get to see other Nintendo franchises like Zelda, Kirby, and Metroid get their chances to shine on the big screen too. However, let's stay focused on Mario. I think what we can expect to see next for our favorite plumber is a direct sequel to the movie. The post-credits scene doesn't hint at a spin-off, but rather hints that the iconic green dinosaur Yoshi will be joining the characters in the next movie. I think it's also safe to assume Bowser will be the villain once again, considering there aren't really any other options. I could see Kamek being the one to release him from his prison, considering they kinda left the question of what happened to Kamek a mystery. Maybe this time Peach will get captured and it's up to the Mario Bros to use their knowledge of the Mushroom Kingdom to go rescue her. It's unclear what roles Toad and DK would play in this scenario, but it's possible for them to make their appearances somehow. Maybe Toad will officially become Captain Toad in the sequel. It is heavily implied that this Toad is the Captain Toad from Mario Galaxy. If any of the characters from this movie are going to be cut in a sequel, I feel like Cranky Kong will be the one to go. I don't know if they'd cut him necessarily, but I don't see how he'd fit into a sequel. In terms of future spin-offs, I could see a Luigi's Mansion spin-off being very likely. Seeing that in the form of a movie would be hilarious and would only make sense. I could also see them doing a Donkey Kong Country spin-off too. That would allow them to continue using Cranky Kong, as well as use Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong, who each made a small cameo in the movie alongside Chunky Kong He's Dead. The only problem with that is that I feel a lot of the story would have to be original to the movie, considering Donkey Kong Country doesn't exactly have much of a story. But I guess the same could be said about Mario, so what do I know? A Captain Toad spin-off could also happen as well. Maybe they could introduce Toadette as a character. I do hope we get to see some of these spin-offs make it to the big screen someday, because I think it would be awesome to see. I can't wait to see what Nintendo does next. Maybe one day, all their franchises will cross over in a Smash Bros. Movie, but that's probably years into the future. So, what's my final verdict on this movie? I don't think there's really anything else to say. There are obviously a few key moments I'm leaving out, but we'd be here all day if I talked about every single aspect of this movie. So what would I give this movie out of 10? I have two answers for you. By movie standards, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, which isn't bad considering it's hard to make animated movies good. A lot of the time they appeal too heavily to children, which makes it less fun for mature audiences. The plot of this movie is generic, but enjoyable. If you changed everything about this movie to make it not Mario, I'd still have a blast watching it. However, I don't think this movie should be judged by actual movie standards. This movie is about pleasing its fans, not winning any Oscars. So, my actual score for this movie, all things considered, is 10 out of 10. There's literally not a thing about this movie I would change. Sure, the plot's a little generic, but that just fits with the games, and the joy from this movie comes from the superb attention to detail. Even Chris Pratt's voice is something I wouldn't change because it's obviously what they were going for. This movie definitely deserves to be the biggest box office opening for an animated movie ever. Anyways, that'll do it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time, but until then, keep being awesome Nintendo fans. Peace out.